Most of the men in the world prove themselves not to be foul by things they do for unworthy females.
Maybe like that. I'm gonna see if I can plug it in.
And when women do go to coffee shops, what we're hearing is that they try, or to a club or the grocery store, or anything where they get out and interact with people, they say the men that they want to meet just don't share their ideals.
Can you just help me real quick? I'm just asking as a man, can you just help me?
It's partly because so many young men are spending their lives also logged in, overly influenced by a flood of whatever you can find online. Video games, toxic masculinity. Who needs the real thing when you can get something better, and I put that in quotes, by scrolling?
I didn't choose to tell you to have that baby.
No, but why a woman have to help? Why
Listen, I didn't tell you to have that baby.
That way, but you're a whole man, you can't help me.
You need to take the help. She helped you out. Talk about. That's not my baby. Helping you out.
Most of the men in the world prove themselves not to be foul.
You just seem very misogynistic, realistically.
So what is misogyny? So why are you using words that you don't even know the definition of?
No, that's not what I meant.
I think you are misogynistic, though.
So what does misogynistic mean, though? Like, just so I know what you're calling me.
Okay, so the reason I said it is just, again, based on the
Because you hear it on the internet?
Nah, bro, are you stupid? No.
When I see visuals like this one of guys ignoring a young lady trying to pull a stroller upstairs, what it tells me is that guys have probably just heard so much negative talk about guys. Guys aren't good. Guys suck. I don't want to be around guys. I'd rather be around a bear than a man. And if you hear so much of that, it just leads to a general sense of apathy. And when you listen to the ladies on MSNBC talk about it, they're almost bewildered. Like, why aren't guys pursuing young ladies? Young ladies are saying it's getting so difficult. And I think it's pretty clear why guys aren't pursuing. It's because guys keep hearing that they're not any good.
I think you have the most talented, well-resourced people in the world and companies trying to convince a young man that he can have a reasonable facsimile of life in his basement behind a screen. You don't need friends. Go on Reddit or Discord. You don't need to get a job. Go on Robinhood or Coinbase and trade crypto and stocks. You don't need to go through the rejection and the expense and the humiliation and working out and having a plan and humor and showering to get a romantic relationship. You have YouPorn. So we have an entire generation, especially of young men, who are out home sequestering from society and missing out on what it means. You know, there's a reason romantic comedies are 2 hours and not 15 minutes. True victory in life is hard.
I don't have a problem with the kind of advice that Dr. Galloway is giving. The unfortunate part about the advice he's giving is that is the environment that he's giving it in that seems out of touch. And one of the pieces of advice is simply this, which we know is out of touch.
As Professor Galloway pointed out, 1 in 3 relationships used to begin at work. Now young people are not going into the office as often. And if you are a young man at work, are you more or less inclined to express some sort of romantic interest in a potential partner now than you were 40 years ago? The answer is clearly no. And by the way, men and women have been told in many places that if you have feelings for someone at work, you have to go to HR first. That'll kill the moment. And I get why that's the policy. I get how we got here. Having said that,
I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm in my hoe phase right now. Happiness over everything. Where's your mind?
As we're dating, there was a time where I end up being pregnant. Not with him, of course, but not by him. I end up pregnant. I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. So then I end up getting a myself, and it was the most horrible visit I've ever done. That moment where I was like, how did I get here? Like, I have this beautiful, wonderful man of God. I am pregnant and I have this abortion. Doing all this in secret. It was so heavy that I had to tell him. And when I tell him this last time, he's gonna break up with me. I broke his heart like 8 times. And then this is the last time. I'm like, there's no way he wants me back, ever. And then so we talk, and he said, well, did you ask God for forgiveness? I'm like, I did. Did you forgive yourself? I'm like, I don't know. Well, I love you and I still want you to be my wife. That was my moment that I felt God's mercy and grace for the first time ever.
I think that we are producing a generation of younger people who do not have hustle and drive, and the lack of hustle and drive one is where I do agree with Professor Galloway, in that, you know, there's a younger generation of people who would rather be home than go out and socialize. But I think the idea that folks are not going out, that folks are not socializing, is not true. More so, I think it's that the pool of men that women would like to date is smaller. There's more women than men. It has always been that way. When I moved to Washington, D.C., that's what everyone said. It's like, for every one guy, there's 10 women that want to date him. So.
Hi.
No. You can see from this video that dating is simply all over the place. People don't really know what kind of advice to give people, and particularly guys, because guys are running into not just a lot of different women, but they're running into a lot of different women who have had dating traumas by dating some guy who wouldn't commit, or a guy who didn't take her seriously. And if you're trying to heal a woman in the middle of all of that, you can walk into something that's not going to turn out well for you. And who better to voice this than the doctor himself, Pimp God?
You have to look first at the person that you are trying to heal and determine whether or not you're trying to perform a reverse matrix. In other words, Morpheus or the Christ figure, they don't go door to door knocking on people's doors with tracts and saying, hey, do you need a healing? Anybody up in there need a healing? The person has to be actively involved in trying to be healed. And there was a song where it was like a little melody where they say, don't save her, she don't want to be saved. So the first thing that we need to do before we get too deep into the shadow stuff as far as a female is you need to understand, you know, is this a person that's even trying to be healed?
Pimp God goes on later to explain the idea of mask and how it's important for guys to not go into dating with rose-colored glasses. And this extends to even dating overseas. I can attest to it, that you could see that mask because it's what you want to see, but you might actually be dealing with a young lady who has a different agenda.
Because a lot of women, they make themselves available to be degraded or abused or continue these cycles. And you need to start looking at, you know, what she makes herself available for before you try to come in with a different program. And in a lot of ways, I hate to say this, but especially with our women, I wonder if a lot of these other races of men see our women better than we do. The things that a lot of these other cultures do to our women, we're trying to come in as heroes. And they make themselves available for this degradation, you know, and I think it's because a lot of them have become used to that level of, you know, treatment, whereas we're trying to introduce them to something else.
Salute to Pimp God because he's cutting straight through the chase, and what he is speaking to is the fact that in this open dating market where many young ladies are pursuing more and more open ways of expressing themselves in a sexual manner, they're probably exposing themselves to certain things that are just not wife-worthy. And when you meet a young lady and she is not acting like a wife, and you saw in the earlier TikToks where the young lady said, you're being a misogynist, she is half naked. She is clearly advertising herself not as a wife, but as a young lady that's looking for a man that can, quote unquote, buy her. And so many of the pundits talk about guys on television, and they say guys need to go out and touch grass. And if you have some game, or if you do the hard things, you can find a young lady. Well, what happens when guys who inherently are good, because society is on average safe, are just saying they're not seeing wives? What you get is guys who are walking past young ladies pulling strollers upstairs, guys who are more willing to play video games on a Friday night, and guys who are looking to get passports and go overseas so that they can find young ladies that they see as wives. And the pundits on television are simply saying, why aren't guys going after what they used to go after? And guys are saying, well, if I want a wife and a home and a lady that's going to stay, I have to find a wife. And the question is, where are the wives at? Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Join the members if you like what you're seeing, and I'm going to add some additional content which is not suitable for YouTube monetization, and catch me there. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, guys.